Sorry about that. I love when you're checking YouTube to make sure everything's going good, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute. I have everything. I have
We've
everything.
actually been live for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm looking at YouTube and your face, and I'm like, why can't I see my face? I'd like to see both of our faces because that would be kind of nice.
I'm the chef now.
You are the star. I mean, come on. This is the whole reason why we brought you here. Is you could do all the talking and I could just be like, board games, right? Like, yeah, like I like games, you like games, right? That's why we're talking.
Mm-hmm. And you just say board games, and I say board games, and then you're like board games. I'm like board games, and just every so often I get closer and closer to the camera until it's like very much my mouth is on top of the camera.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's deeply unpleasant, but gets those views.
That's right. Welcome everybody to another edition of MFGCast on YouTube. I'm your host Kurt. We have a special guest. As you can see, we've already been talking way too into
was all that live?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Oh, yeah. There's a little thing up on the top left that says live. We're live.
Oh, whoops.
Oopsies. That's okay, though. That's the way it works. All right. Okay. Sorry. I just want to make sure the comments are working. All right. So, in case you didn't know, we have Eric Yurko from What's Eric Playing. Eric, it's good to see you again.
Yes, it's good to be seen. Like,
yeah.
I interact with maybe like 4 people a day tops now, and I live with 3 of them, so that's been exciting.
That is exciting.
Whole new paradigm.
Oh, totally. Now you're like all over the place. I saw you on Renegade Radio. I mean, what else have you been on lately? It just feels like your face is everywhere now.
I mostly just exist in the ether now. But no, I'm doing a game design chat with Carla, I think, in a few weeks.
Nice.
I popped on Ruel's Top 3 at 3.
Oh,
that's a lot of fun. Ruel's a great guy. So
yeah,
that was just a blast. We talked about deck builders. There it was. I keep trying to follow up with him because I want to do another one with him on trick taking games because like Ayako from Big Cat Games has gotten us a lot of indie Japanese trick taking games.
Oh, nice.
And so some of them are very particular, and I'd love to talk more about them.
That's awesome. Well, they're
fun.
Yeah, that is cool. So I kind of wanted to have you on just to talk about like our presentation and your board game reviewing because you have a special talent for that, I feel like, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about that. But before we talk about that, I'd like to ask you just some random questions to kind of get to know you more because I feel like we talked to you. I looked at this. I wanted to kind of look back to see last time we talked to you. We talked to you about a year ago, so it's been quite a bit of time. There hasn't been much going. Yeah. There hasn't been a lot going on in the world, but I suppose we could figure something to talk about.
Yeah, things.
That's right. So you have been quoted, and I might be paraphrasing here, that your lack of gaming in the past few months has been kind of suck ass. Those are my words, but
that's a pretty fair description of it.
Yeah, exactly. So what have you been doing to kind of keep up with it? To not, we've kind of talked before we came on, and it's like you have roommates that don't play board games, and right now the pandemic is happening. It's hard to go like, oh, let's have everybody and play games and touch their things that they've been touching, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So the answer that I usually give is, have you seen Into the Spider-Verse?
I have.
Yeah. So there's a great scene in it where Spider-Man, Peter B. Parker, at one point talks about his breakup with MJ. He's like, but I handled it like a champ. And it immediately cuts to him crying in the shower. Like, that's an important visual that I want you to keep in mind as the backdrop for all the other things that I've been doing. Insofar as like what I've been doing, a lot of it's just been work. Like, I still have a day job that I kind of have to keep doing, and the problem is that now that we are currently at my work desk. My work desk has been moved into the dining room because there's no space in my bedroom for it. Because I am a coder by day, I have monitors there, and then my work laptop here that I'm talking to you on. So I'm leveraging their superior hardware for this chat. But problem is, at the end of the day, there's no real blur, there's no real line between like, because once you're finished with work, you can usually go home and then you're not at work anymore. Once I'm
Yeah.
finished with work, I usually just move over to the couch back there and then watch TV. So there's like a 10-foot distance between work and my life. So that's been a lot of it. I've gotten back to writing, so that took a bit of time. I wrote about that for the Manifold a little while back about the like lengthy process of like moving back into a normal routine. So that wasn't fun. Wouldn't recommend it, but glad I did it, I guess.
Yeah.
What else have I been up to? So I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing.
Very nice.
I got really good at that. Bunch of money out of the stock market, so I got like 17 million bells, and then I bought a bunch of furniture. Just really became a little island tycoon. I don't know, it's hard to say. And then mostly just been hanging out with my housemates. So we've been watching a lot of TV. We have an ongoing game where we will make drinks for the house, and then we'll watch a movie on Disney Plus, usually Dealer's Choice. We've been trying to watch either very old Disney animated films. So like I think we did Sleeping Beauty, and then we did Little Mermaid. And once we had a few drinks, we'll just sort of riff. We also watched Artemis Fowl, and I can say with certainty that movie is very bad.
Nice.
But what can you do? So
Yeah.
beyond that, cooking a bit. So I got really into cooking. I'm like okay at it now, which is nice. So yeah,
That's cool.
That's been me.
Yeah. So when you're cooking, what's your thing now? What's something that you're like, wow, I can actually do this halfway decent?
So I grew up in West Virginia, which is an important part of the vital backstory of this. And in West Virginia, we have a common delicacy that's referred to as a pepperoni roll. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's just bread with cheese and pepperoni inside of the bread.
Awesome.
I've loved them since I was a kid because they're very simple. They're basically pizza. And I've never actually considered what it would take to make one. And now I've made, I think, 32 of them over the course of it. I make batches of 16 at a time, so that's been fun. Two of my housemates are vegetarians, so we also made a like vegan pepperoni, and we've made them with like vegetarian substitutes. That's been fun.
That's cool.
Styling around that, made a cheesecake, which was
Ooh.
really, yeah, that was an investment. Didn't crack, which is like the big problem with making cheesecakes.
Nice.
Yeah, I was really proud of myself. And then we made it's almost a bread pudding, but it's like a baked overnight French toast. So you know how the problem with French toast is you kind of got to dip the bread in the egg and then you got to flip it and then you have to make like one piece at a time.
Yeah.
This takes the bold strategy of saying, what if I made all of them at the same time?
Nice.
And so it uses like sourdough and like it cooks overnight and like the like eggy custard. And so it's like the whole thing is just like a French toast that you can scoop out of a pan.
Nice.
Overwhelmingly recommend.
Yeah.
Making it tomorrow, actually.
That's cool.
My housemates for the long weekend.
I feel like we've made something like that in a crock pot before, and it was just amazing.
Oh yeah, it's good stuff. I got an Instant Pot specifically for more like experimental recipes. Learning a lot about food.
Yeah. It's funny when you actually like, as silly as this may sound, like this whole thing is like made people kind of take a look back at like, what haven't I done, or what can I do now, where it's like before it was kind of like, I don't really have time for that, which you probably did anyway.
Right, and it's worth mentioning on my part that I am very fortunate in the sense that I have like a job that lets me stably work remotely and one that continues to support me financially through the pandemic, and that gives me the space by which I can explore these options, and I am very thankful for that. But yeah, I agree. It's something that I've been meaning to like learn to do better, and I had some like staple recipes, like the like this is a man who survived grad school recipes where you're like, oh yeah, I can make fried rice.
Nice.
Yeah, I can cook an egg. But now I actually have recipes that are like, oh, look at this guy, he knows how to cook. Which is, a lie that I will happily trick people into.
Yeah.
On the plus side, for a lot of people, the potlucks after this are going to be amazing.
Yeah, there you go. God, potluck. I wonder if that'll be a thing that'll ever happen again.
Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah, I know. Everything is so up in there. All right, let's talk about more. So talking about more happy stuff. So like talking about working remotely and, we're using Zoom right now and stuff like that. This isn't as an ad for Zoom, but it's like, all the things that we can do. Like, have you been able to use, the online platform to do more stuff with gaming and reaching out to other people and stuff like that?
So I generally I don't love a lot of the like online gaming frameworks. No disrespect to them, just that on the photography side, if I get too into the online frameworks, I worry that people will perfectly reasonably be like, "Hey, can I send you a game to review?" And you just review it via the online platform, which is fine in principle, but problematic in practice because there's just no way for me to like set up shots or do the photography work that I actually enjoy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've been mostly staying away from those as much as one can be said to mostly stay away from anything. But I have been doing a lot of work with, so I bought a cheap phone tripod. Nice. And I have a laptop that I can use, and I've been doing a lot of calls that way. So I tried out Roar and Write, Galactic Raptor's new one that's on Kickstarter.
Very nice.
With Jonathan Liu and Suzanne a little while back. And then I have an old friend who's moved out to Denver, and so I'll play a game with her over the video chats every couple of weeks. So we played a new game called Rosetta, The Lost Language, which was a lot of fun. Really like that one. Nice. And I taught her floor plan, played poorly, and got my ass kicked, which was it's definitely one of those things you're like, oh, well, that's on me. Yep. Should have played better. What can you do?
That's funny.
Sorry, my computer just went to sleep, and I was like, wait, why did it go to sleep when I'm obviously on a video call right now?
Jeez. The computer is already saying, okay, that's enough. Shut it down.
Yeah, I'm just sort of like very rude. Needlessly so, but what can you do?
Yeah. We've always talked about technology is always a son of a gun. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this. So what, just a random question that I usually ask everybody, like what's your all-time favorite game?
Man, all-time favorite.
Well, it's like asking somebody if like what's your favorite song or something or band. People are always like, yeah, I got 15 people I can tell you about.
Yeah, it's all about that. It's all about the different dimensions by which you'd say all-time favorite, right? Like, is there a game that I'm the happiest when I play? And sure, there's several of those, but a lot of those are probably more in the like party game space. What do I have good memories of? What games did I grow up playing? Is there a game that I think personally is like, in my opinion, the best constructed game that I've played? And that's a very complex question with a lot of very complex answers that no one cares about. So I'd say that in terms of just like loosely my favorite game, just in terms of like me having a casual knowledge of what I've ranked games in the past, I'd probably still lean Millennium Blades. Just because nice. Millennium Blades is a hot mess. I love it, and it has no business working as well as it does.
Nice.
Like if you pitched me Millennium Blades, I'd be like, well, that shouldn't be functional. There's no way you can take that many different moving pieces, just kind of push them together, and then be like, this is probably fine. But it works, and I love it for it. I think it's fantastic. It is, I think, the only Kickstarter that I've backed at a level which I can get a card of me in the game, and that's like the highest praise that I can give it, right? Like,
yeah. Anytime you can put yourself in the game physically, there's nothing better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially because I think the card they made for me, which isn't out yet, it's part of the Collusion expansion.
Yeah,
is a very good card.
Nice.
It's like the chef kiss emoji of just like, it's everything I want in a card. It's a card that makes the game very silly, and it's going to be great.
That's awesome. So then I'll ask this question then. So then what's your favorite game of the moment?
I mean, hot takes The Crew. So
nice. Yeah.
Like I know what my knee-jerk reaction to it was, and I was like, yeah, it's The Crew. Just in terms of like the game that I'm like kind of looking out of the corner of my eye and seeing it on my like shelf over there and be like, I wonder if I could just like. You were up against some steep competition. A friend had invited me to play a game of The Crew with them tonight, about maybe 40 minutes ago, and I was like, oh, I actually have a call at 6. I wonder if I could move.
Oh, you totally could have. You totally could have.
I wouldn't do that to you.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, no, I think that is. There's so many things I like about the crew, like the quick play of rounds, the like ease of setup. There's some debate among my gaming circles about whether or not it's like a casual game or a strategy game.
Mm.
And I think that depends on like if you're looking at the crew at a micro level versus a macro level. I tend to look at it as a micro level in the sense that like I play 20 rounds of the crew and each round is a game in my mind. And in that sense, I think it's very casual. It's fast. You kind of just play a round of a trick-taking game and you're done. But if you're looking at it in terms of like, I want to play 50 missions and I want to have an overarching like communication strategy that evolves over time with the people I'm playing with, and I could see how people find it falling more into the strategic space, right? That's sort of why I assume it's up for the Kennerspiel.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's one of those games that it, just like you said, it's kind of, sometimes it's kind of hard to say one way or another, just because, you know, I think it all depends upon the group that you're kind of playing with, you know, like we've been playing it here. So I've been playing it with Tracy and Logan, and like, I know Tracy's very like, everything is very mathematical, and she's like, okay, well, we got to make sure we look at this card and, you know, make sure we've counted everything that we've played already in this color and stuff like that. Where I know Logan's just kind of like, he also has a very mathematical brain, but he's also like, boom, boom, like quick, like I'm gonna play this, and it's like, you're like, wait a minute, did you not think about this before you did that? Yeah, I did. What?
I definitely played with folks who were just like, card, and I'm like, oh, I guess live by the sword, die by the sword, I suppose.
Yeah,
like, it's a way to play. It's fairly exciting. I'm kind of into it. So
yeah. I feel like that's kind of a way I play too. Like, I wish that I had sometimes more of a, let's stop and think about what I'm doing before I do it. Because sometimes you know, you play a game and then you're done. You're like, what did I just do? You know, sometimes it can be to my detriment.
I think if the rounds took longer, I might feel more that way. Mm-hmm. Like for me, I'm just like, let's say, like I have told people before, I'm like, okay, like I've had a friend who's like sitting there and they're really thinking about what card to play. And I'm like, okay, think about it this way. If you play the wrong card, we are going to have to shuffle that deck and redeal. And that's pretty much the entirety of the consequence here. Like there's nothing past that. It's just sort of, we just kind of do the thing over again.
Yeah.
And that low barrier, I think, helps a lot of people. It's like, we'll probably be like, oh, remember that one time you played the pink 5 and we all lost? Oh, well.
So I have a question for you then, because I've kind of thought about when we've played it, like, so a game like this, it's a trick-taking game. It's pretty easy to just be like, okay, it's time to play the tricks and do that kind of thing. Now, and, you know, the crew has a story to it, and you're actually telling the story as you're going. Like, do you get into the story part of it? Do you, like me, I always do every intro to it, even though it does not matter because you're playing a trick-taking game at its core.
I have at least one very good friend who, in simpler times, I tend to play a lot of games with, and he loves stories. He loves like the pitch for games. Like he wants me to actually like read the first paragraph of the rule book where it like introduces stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm probably a tiny bit more of a pragmatist outside of storytelling games themselves. Yeah. So usually I'm just like, all right, here's the pitch. We're in space. We're playing a trick-taking game. Why are we in space and playing a trick-taking game? I haven't read that far. I apologize. And then we just kind of go for it. And it's like, well, here's our task. Why is this our task? Who's to say? But yeah, no, I think for mission 5, the one where the captain has to ask if you're feeling good or you're feeling bad, the like story investment matters a bit more. So I always forget about it. But by the time I get there, I'm like, I wish I had done more work building in, like kind of weaving in that narrative. And I never do it. Like I've done this like 3 or 4 times.
Nice.
We're all just locked in a cycle, in this sort of cycle of storytelling violence.
Yeah, exactly. Just board game. Let's play board game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, definitely. All right, so let's get to the gravy of this whole thing. Gravy. Right. Why did I say that? That's weird. Okay, moving on.
I tried to interact with someone in person a few days ago because I was like picking up a package and I just couldn't word correctly, and I'm like, just gonna be how it is.
Yeah,
I'm like, good afternoon or morning or time.
And yeah.
Like, wow, you really crushed that one, Eric.
You person, be person. Hi. So, I wanted to get you on here because, I'm always pulled in by your reviews. Like, it's,
Well, thank you.
even, your writing is always so great. But like one of the things that I always, see first, obviously, because it's, the first thing I see, whatever, is the way that you do the art when you're actually, taking pictures and setting up stuff during, when you put it up on your website. Like, so, boy, should I ask you, like, what are your secrets? You don't have to divulge all your secrets, but like, what's your thought going in when you take these pictures and you do these things for your reviews?
So I know this is going to be an incredibly boring answer, and I apologize, but I actually don't think that much. Like
Oh,
for
geez,
me, I
that's
just
it.
kind of
That's it. We're done. Click. No.
just hang up on me now.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I think that like I've reviewed what, like 650 games ish. Like if I think that for me, I look at certain cards, and I look at like the way certain cards like sit next to each other, where the cards match up or colors match up or like alignments match up, and I can almost visualize the shot that I want in my head, right? So like for instance, one of my favorite pictures I've taken is a photo of the Shipwreck Arcana I took a few years back,
No.
where
Nice.
I tried my best to get the background colors in like essentially a rainbow order as in like the circle that I made, and that I had been thinking about it all day. Like I'd been sitting at work once I had like opened the game and I played a few rounds of it, and I've been like, I know the exact style of image that I want, and getting that thought out of your brain and onto the table is really hard. And I will freely tell you, the secret that I will tell you is that it doesn't always happen. I definitely have had games that I've done full photography sets for, and like the photos are fine, and it's kind of where it is for me. I'm like, I didn't quite convert on like the image that I had in my brain, or the image my brain never fully like manifested. But
Nice.
if I can get it, if I can really like get from one end to the other on that, and I think I've done it a few times. Shipwreck Arcana, I really really like the photo work I did for that one. It's a beautiful game, so it does its own work pretty easily. And Santorini, really loved the work that I did for that as well.
Nice.
Then if I can convert and get to that point, it's very satisfying, and you just kind of it clicks. You know what I mean? You know what the output is supposed to look like because it finally matches up with the picture that you have in your brain of like what's the ideal arrangement of this. And that's for me, that's a practice thing. Like I've done enough photography now that you'd never believe that I failed my digital photography exam in college.
That's funny. So
Second worst score in the class.
oh, geez.
Yeah, it turns
Yeah.
out the exam was on optics, and I didn't realize that, so I didn't actually open the textbook, and whoops.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That would help to open that test book.
I've heard this. So you know how people have that nightmare where like they wake up and it's a test and they don't know any of the material?
You
Yeah,
live
it's not
that.
any more fun to actually do it in real life. Just tell you that.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I can't even
Yeah, it
imagine.
wasn't great.
So has your outlook on it like changed? I know you don't think about it, but I'm sure you've thought about it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that there's sort of an inventory where it's like, okay, so this is sort of the question that comes up a lot when I'm writing is, do I tend to write first, or do I tend to do photography first?
Mm,
And sometimes I let the photography inform the writing, sometimes I let the writing inform the photography. A lot of times I will just mess up and I'll forget a photo or two, and then I'll kind of have to go back and do it later, and then actually rework it into the review. It's confusing, but at the end of the day, what I tend to do is I tend to make a list when I see the game of what components I need to have photos of.
hmm
In the before times when I had a lot more energy, I would occasionally do like fun arrangements with the components. So like I think I did that for some Dominion reviews, and that was a blast. Lately I don't as much. Just something's got to slip if you're moving up to like 4 reviews a week, and I've since moved back down to 2, but that's because I have a lot going on right now. But I'll still occasionally try to do some stuff, but like it's basically when you look at a piece, you're like, what about this do I want to highlight?
hmm
And sometimes the answer is nothing. Like, no disrespect to standard blue, green, or yellow cube, but everyone knows what they look like. Like, I can't upload photos of a timer to BGG because all sand timers mostly look the same with the exception of like, I don't know, Sorcerer City's sand timer. Does it have a sand timer? Am I making this up? I think it does.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I have not played
it's a
it, but I'm
pretty
pretty sure that's even part of like the art in the front, isn't it? I don't know.
it's a pretty sand timer. It's just
Yeah.
it's a sand timer, you
Yeah,
know? Like
yeah. Still
there's only
counts time.
so much that you can do before you've moved out of sand timer into hourglass, and then it's like, but,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think I tend to first go through and try to create like an inventory. Once you have the inventory, you start checking off what you need, right? And the most important thing for me when I review the game is that within reason. So this is another secret that I'll divulge for you. But within reason, I do try to play the game when I'm taking photos of it.
Yeah.
Now that's not always possible, right? If I'm playing the Resistance Avalon by myself in my home, well, I figured out who Merlin is, so I've got that going for me. But the debates for missions are a little bit boring. So if I can't take it myself, I'll try to set it up as though a certain amount of people were playing it. Usually striving for the median player count because it tends to look better than a lot of games that are support to 4 players can tend to look a little bit sparse with 2 players.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to aim for like sparse or for full but not crowded. So like Catan at 4 is crowded. Catan at 3 less so. So there's a little bit more space to see the board, a little bit more space to see the pieces, and a little bit more space to see how the player decisions influence the game overall.
Yeah. And it seems like when you I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're totally fine.
Okay.
Go for it.
So, it seems like when you take your photos too, it seems like you've planned out everything and stuff like that. I don't think I've ever seen anything where you have like, oh, I'm playing this now. I take a picture and then I, work my, review around that.
Yeah, no. I mean some of my early photos are definitely like that. That's another fun one for you. Like the first like 10 or 12 reviews that I wrote before I knew what like lighting was or camera angles. I've since gone back and retweaked some of the on the front page photos for them, but yeah, I don't really some of the photos are just bad. It's very bad.
Hey, it all happens. We still do photos, and I'm looking at them going, you could have done better on that. One of the things that
I've
I
definitely
really
scrapped several.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. You do like it's like I can't even think of the thing. It's like something you see on SNL or whatever. You're like, yes, yes, no, 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 no. You just keep taking pictures, and finally you're like, okay, I give it up. I give up. The 4th one was fine. Out of 12.
Oh yeah, my photography process is a lot like there's a sketch I think in a John Mulaney show where he's talking about meeting Mick Jagger, and Mick will just point at things and be like, "Yeah," or "No," and that's kind of how I go through it. I'll be like, I'll take a photo, be like, "No," it's like that, but much sadder,
Yeah. I found like only one trick that I really, really like, and it's anybody can do it. Is go somewhere like in your basement, set up how you'd like to do it. You can just use your phone. You put on the flash, turn off the lights, and take a picture of it. And it sets up the lighting, and it sets up like a good backdrop and stuff like that. Like that's the only thing
light
I'm like
control is
excited about.
critical.
Yeah.
So like right now, actually, let me see if I can get the angle on this right. Yeah. So this spot right there-ish.
Yeah.
That is my photo studio.
Nice.
Yeah, so you'll notice a couple things. One, it's a table. Two, it's a very crappy table. I bought it on Amazon for $60. 3, the discerning eye might notice that my lights are on in this room and the light temperature is extremely warm. Like these lights are very orange. So I cannot take photos with these lights. I have to actually take them basically in the dark.
Nice.
Which causes me some problems after about 10 p.m.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's challenging, but I make it work.
It is. It's gonna be hard to walk around and take a picture at the same time.
Exactly.
So, is it something now? Do you have a professional camera that you use now, or do you tend to use your phone because phones have pretty good cameras themselves?
No, I have an old Canon Rebel, so I have a T3i from 2013ish is when I bought it, and so I've just been using that for some time. One of my higher tier Patreon like levels is that once we hit that level, I'll probably start like actually experimenting with like new camera equipment and different lenses, but that's a very expensive game to get into, and I haven't yet really seen. I think there's diminishing returns. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's tough. So are there any of like certain goals now that you have with, you know, how we just talked about like if you get to a certain point or whatever, but is there anything in your head where you're like, well, you know, I'd like to try this artistically, or you know, maybe there's something I can do a little differently?
So I'd like to do some more work with backgrounds. Like white and black are perfectly fine backgrounds, but I actually like to have other backdrops available. It's just that the way that I've been doing it is a little bit expensive and not entirely good or smart, which is that I went to Joann Fabrics and bought a bunch of reams of white and black fabric, and I would use them as mostly my photography backdrop.
Yeah.
I own some lighting equipment, but I don't use it that often. I use it mostly if I have to deal with metal pieces, because it turns out metal pieces are very finicky. Because the light reflects off them weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Very much a pain to photograph, so I try to avoid it when I can.
Yeah.
This leads to some tension with certain companies because a lot of them have metal pieces, and I'm always just like, I can't really do much with this.
Yeah, you're like, you know, this is reflective, right? You know that this will actually be problems for people who take pictures.
Oh yeah, my ongoing gripe is with publishers and basically publishers and artists that use both white and black prominently on the same piece of like a card or a box, because that completely just screws with me, right? Like you can't. I have a white backdrop and I have a black backdrop. If it has white and black in it, that means part of it is going to be rendered basically invisible during my editing process. And I've been trying to get around this, and I can do it. It just requires a ton of very precise Photoshop work, and I don't always have the patience for it.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. You know, I feel like a lot of these companies they don't really think about that kind of stuff. You know,
I mean, why would you?
Yeah, exactly. They're just kind of like, well, you know, this is what we wanted, and this is
and
how
it looks nice that way. You're like, oh yeah, it's got a nice like duality thing. Like it's light on one part of the card, it's dark on one part of the card, and I'm sitting over here like, this makes my photography super difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and
there are
it's
definitely
funny.
Places that I've just straight up cheated.
Yeah.
Like, actually, Roaring Right. I just did a run of photography for it. Great game. Wanted to use my black backdrop for it because that's a really nice contrast with the like card art.
Yeah.
Problem is the dice are black, so if I do that, I can't see the dice. So I may have 100% stolen the dice that I have from Roll Player because they are the exact same colors but inverted. So instead of black die yellow pips, it's a yellow die black pips. And
yeah, it just makes it better.
It's fine.
Well, you just have to say some things not included. That's all.
Yep.
He's like, I didn't even do that. Too bad.
Oh no, I did. I was just
good.
like,
oh good.
I was like, Carla, please don't be mad at me.
Yeah.
I like the black dice better, all things considered.
You just can't work with it with what you have going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I always love that, you know, in this game of things that we do, it's like we're always so worried about like this has to be perfect and we have to do this, and then at the end of the day when you're doing it, you're like, what's the quickest way I can just shortcut to get this you know, it's unfortunate, but like it's a lot of work.
Oh yeah, and then I have to live with the idea that like there are definitely some photos somewhere in the roughly 10,000 photos that I've taken over my lifetime as a board game photographer. I know that there are a handful that have obvious mistakes. just places where I just played the game wrong. And I'm like, cool, love that.
That's okay, Eric. No one will ever find out.
Good luck finding that needle in the haystack.
There we go.
Make it up with volume.
Yeah, exactly. I'll buy somebody a $50 game if they can find 5 things that have been wrong.
Oh man. Now I'm trying to see if I can remember those.
That's number one, that's torture. I wouldn't do that to anybody. And number 2, why would we do that? Why would we pick out any of that stuff? I'm sure lots of people could probably watch some of these interviews and be, hey, I can pick out some of the mistakes you've made. So
Oh yeah, no, this happens all the time for stuff like this, right? Like,
That's right.
just entire, like, I think it might have been, I think Annette of Netter's Plays and I were doing an entire run of Tiny Towns,
Yeah.
and we were playing a game together in person. It was great. We had all the equipment set up. We did like a bunch of video for it, and I can't remember. We did one of two things. We either played the game entirely wrong, or we forgot to turn one of the cameras on.
Oh, geez.
Or it might have been both. It's totally possible that it was, in fact, both things. Like, you just gotta roll with some of these punches, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You have to realize that we're all human. We do these things, and it happens. I always my favorite example is Orleans is one of my favorite games, and I've played it a million times. And then I go and play on Tabletop Simulator with someone who just started playing it, one of my friends, and he pointed out something that I've been doing wrong the whole time. And it's worked.
Oh, yeah.
But, you just sit and go, oh my God, I could have probably been winning more games if I would have been playing this different way.
Oh, yeah, the first 50 times I played Ice Cool, I was playing it wrong. I just misread one of the rules, and, like, it changed the game pretty significantly. So,
Yeah.
like, we were just like, oh. Well, now it plays fine. It still played great when we were playing it. We still loved it. It was just, we were like, wow, that's much more difficult. And then we just never thought about it again.
Yeah.
Well, that's the real danger, right? Is that if you have something in your rules that's ambiguously interpretable, people aren't really likely, after like maybe game like 5 or 6, to really go back and check the rulebook again.
Oh yeah.
So if I play too many games of some game and I internalize the mistake, I might never know about it. I think I was playing Habitats wrong. I think I played maybe like 10 games incorrectly.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, this is just how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you could just because you play something, like someone could point something out wrong, and let's just say, let's say you forget about it, doesn't mean you can't go back and accidentally forget about it and play the wrong way again anyway,
Boy, howdy. Yeah. Done that.
Yeah. I feel for everybody that has to deal with that kind of stuff, game designers and stuff, where like, oh, so you've been getting this wrong the whole time. It's like, does it make them go, okay, obviously there's a flaw in that, or is there a flaw in the interpretation of the rules or how it was written?
It's sort of the game designer shows up and is like, here, Eric, please take my son. He is beautiful, and treat him with care. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. I will treasure this. They get to my review, and it's just me being like, I played this wrong. And they're like, this is why I try to play games multiple times before I review it. But the problem is that doesn't always help, because it just means that if I don't make sure that I've reread the rules every time, I risk just really internalizing that mistake.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I put a lot of time into making this wrong. Oh, fun.
Oh, yeah. Yep. The amount of energy that I put into playing games wrong is often impressive, if not sensational.
Yeah. I feel like if people haven't done that, then you're a robot, because it happens. I guarantee you there's nobody that has not done that.
Oh yeah, no. When back when we used to like be able to socialize with other content creators, right? We'd have like a game that we all needed to play for content reasons, and we're just going to write off the first game because someone is going to do something that's just egregiously incorrect.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure it out. And usually between the 3 or 4 of us, we're like, oh, turns out you can't just take all the money out of the bank whenever you pass this space. And it's like, I feel like we should have known that, and we just didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone just agreed, this is the thing that we shall do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
House rules are a powerful energy.
Oh, they totally are. They totally are. And I've seen that too, where people are like, this is the thing. No, it's not. We will not make that the thing. You're like, wait a minute. Well, then why did they write the rules of this game that you're playing if you're not going to be playing by them?
Yeah. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, there are some rebels out there. What are you going to do about it?
I mean, to be fair, I think that there's something about how the crew works with like satellite distress. I've maybe played the crew like 50 times and I still don't totally know what that rule is. I just know that there's something in the book about like a certain satellite token that I just haven't read yet.
That's awesome.
I'm working my way up to it.
Yeah, you gotta. That's the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
Well, man, I tell you, games, they're a lot of fun, aren't they? Board games.
Yeah.
Man,
there's just been a lot of cool stuff coming out recently, right? Like I'm a little bummed that like Gen Con and Origins aren't happening because there are definitely some games that like I think really would have been like smashes for those.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
everyone's still talking about the Crew. I think not non-trivially, partially because it is the last game that a lot of us all played at the convention together.
that is true.
We're just
Yeah.
like nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember that game we all used to play together at one time when we could be close? That was fun.
Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, imagine if we could actually go to Gen Con and then like Fort launched a Gen Con, right? Like,
yeah.
we're talking like I don't actually know what the street date is. Please do not quote me on that. Gates will find me. But yeah, I'm just like, imagine if that had been like a big one. That probably would have been a smash. I mean,
Oh, totally. And that's the thing that's interesting about this, because now, people have more time to be creative to do those things, but then as they're out in the world, maybe they get played less because there's a lot of people out there that don't want to chance going out there and playing unless they have somebody in their living space that they can play with.
right. And that's part of my problem, right? Is the like, no disrespect to my housemates, they're lovely people, but like they're not, I wouldn't say that they're like rip roaring to go via board games. Like we've had a game night since we've been like sheltering in place. But that was like March, right? Like I think we had our game night in April. It's July. I know what month it is.
Nice. Wow.
But yeah, so I'm trying not to put too much pressure on them because I feel like that's also not super cool. Like
Yeah.
we live in a house full of board games, right? Like you can like if I just twist this enough, there it is. That's a bit of a shelf in the shot.
Nice.
And there's a stack right there. Like they know.
Yeah, they know it's there. Yeah.
Can. But yeah. So it's just like if they ask, I told them basically if you ask to play a board game, I'll basically always say yes. If you don't ask, I will probably never bring it up in my own position.
Yeah.
That's been a pretty good working arrangement.
That's good. Yeah. No reason to force anybody to do anything these days. We have enough things to worry about.
And we're all in close proximity, so like minimizing drama from just like applying social pressure is probably wise.
Yes, exactly. Well, this has been a blast. I'm really glad that you decided to come and hang out with us and we were able to talk about this.
Oh, always happy to. It's
Gotcha.
just, it's nice to be able to also, frankly, it's nice to be able to sit on a call that isn't a meeting.
Is it business?
No, business.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
It's the worst.
It is, but we get by.
That's right.
There's still stuff. Like we'll get it back, I think.
That's right.
I know that like PAX Unplugged is like the last stalwart of like the conventions that are scheduled for this year. Since I think BGG Con is down. Did Origins in person get canceled as well? I haven't really been keeping up on this.
I think so.
Okay, I had to cancel a hotel reservation then. But
yeah.
I wasn't gonna go anyways, but like it was just tie up a loose end.
Yeah.
I feel slightly better about not being able to get a hotel for Gen Con.
Yeah. No kidding. Yeah. Oh. Here's my wallet. Here's my life. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I actually just straight up did not get a hotel. Like my options were bad. And I was like, I guess I will find a friend whose floor I can sleep on for 5 days.
No kidding.
And that was an okay decision.
Yeah. Ours was actually the best that we could have seen since we've been going, which is every couple of years. And it was unfortunate, but hey, we saved money, so that in the end that helps.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like it'll come back around. I mean, I feel like Gen Con is going to happen again eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
They're probably going to do it again at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, there's all the online cons. Have you been doing any of those?
I haven't, but I want to. I really do, because it's funny because a lot of people are like, well, if you're not there in person doing the things, then why bother? But it's like,
kind of me, yeah.
Yeah, but I also think like, even though I don't go to a lot of like talks and stuff, like board game publishers and designers that talk about certain things, like most of the time you can't ever get into those because everybody's doing those. So now I feel like, you know what? Now I can actually get in and I can look and I can be in my PJs and be like, that guy's a board game designer. That woman's a board game designer. This person publishes games. Now I can just sit and be there without like trying to be like, okay, I want to get a ticket for this, but I have to wait in line for 3 hours for it.
Right. Yeah. I keep thinking I should probably do it. Like, but I think here's my thing, right? Is that I'm kind of like, on one hand, I kind of would like to do a panel discussion. I feel like that would be fun. To talk about like, especially for written content, like just talk about the future of written content.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I don't feel any particular need to like link it up to a major convention because I could also just do that and then release it online. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess through the convention you get a little bit more exposure, but I don't know. I keep weighing the trade-offs up, but it's something that it's been on my to-do list for like 3 months.
You should do it. I'll be there day one, or the only day
I
that you do
appreciate
it.
that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think it would be nice because you could definitely get some. I just think different perspectives on it would be interesting. I need to figure out what that means, but I think I'm talking to like I said, I'm talking to Carla about think that soon. So she's talking from like the publisher perspective about working with reviewers. Should be interesting.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to see what happens to in the future and what the things may come. You can always check out Eric on What's Eric Playing. What's that website again?
Oh, it's what'sericplaying.com.
Oh God, that was really hard. I should have known that. I did.
It's fine.
I did. I just wanted you to say it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Find him on Twitter. You have your own Facebook page too. Love seeing all the
What's
content.
Eric Playing on most social. It's just Twitter has a 15 character limit. It turns out What's Eric Playing is 16 characters due to what was definitely an intentional decision. So it's What's E Playing on Twitter.
Yeah. And I hate that you can't use any like apostrophes or anything like that or exclamation points. Just to me, that's weird. But whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was kind of hoping when they like bumped up the tweet limit, they'd also bump up the like character in your name limit, but it turns out that's not a thing. So.
Yeah, you would think. Oh well.
Yep.
What can we do?
Oh well. Nothing.
All right. No, exactly. Like always. All right. Well, again, thanks, Eric, for coming on. And yeah like I said,
for having me.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to have you on again. This time, not a year from now, maybe sooner.
Yeah, hit me up. You know where I am. I'm literally just here all the time. So.
That's right. That's right. We'll hit you up. All right.
Yeah, sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everybody for watching and listening. And until next time, I'm Kurt. And this was the MFGCast. See you, everybody.
See y'all later.